Good morning and welcome back to Math and Engineering Help Desk. This is Mr. Copperthite here with a introduction video on a mini course that I am currently writing to assist my 8th grade class in their quest in being confident equation solvers, specifically for linear equations, but obviously we want to make sure that this is a topic that you have mastered before you attempt to solve other types of equations that you would encounter in a later algebra course. So this particular guide is just going to go, or this particular video, excuse me, is going to go over sort of my outline method on how I'm going to have my students approach these equations, and also a couple of methods that they will be using throughout the week to model the solving of these equations. Now, my title of the course is Mr. Copperthite's Complete Course on Confidently Conquering Linear Equations. We're going to use this to simplify, identify, use words, solve it one or two ways, and then check our answer. That's sort of the process, and this video is just going to review the justification for the steps and what you're actually doing in each step. So this is the, oh, by the way, this is obviously a detailed list. It's one that you can certainly take some shortcuts in when you start getting not the word I'm looking for. When you start mastering the equation tasks. Okay, so let's walk through these steps and kind of talk about what each one is. So the first step is to simplify. So when we simplify, we're not always doing this step, but when we simplify, our job here is to distribute, combine like terms, and or move variable terms to one side of our equation. Why would you do it? To solve linear equations, our goal is to have one term with a variable. Simplifying allows us to rewrite equations so that we can solve them. Obviously, with multiple terms having the same variable, it's impossible to isolate unless you find a way to combine those. So simplifying is sort of a necessary step, not always for every single linear equation, but something that you should always look for. Now, this next step is called identify. So when we identify, we're just identifying in the equation what is the variable that we're looking for. The reason we do this is that identifying a variable gives you a starting point for the following steps, which obviously are the next three that you see on the screen. It gives you sort of a starting point, and it's just a mental cue of like, oh, there's my variable right there. What's happening to that variable is the next question that you would answer in this next step. So giving you that sort of starting point is what the identify step is for. Now, writing in words. Now, this is something that when you're practicing, something that you're going to do, but the writing step doesn't necessarily is not necessarily a step that you need to continue to do. It's one that I would say, a beginner or even an intermediate, or if it's just a tough equation to help you identify what you need to do to solve it, writing in words is a good way to do that. So we start with the variable, and what we do is we write out the mathematical steps in order with respect to the order of operations, PEMDAS, that you need to do in order to get the number of terms on the other side of the equal sign, in order to get the number or terms on the other side of the equal sign. All right, end of class bell. The reason you do that is this identifying the operations and the order they happen makes solving the equation easier to do. We'll see in future videos about what I mean by this, but basically by flipping around the operations and identifying what the operations are, the solving order would be the flipped version of both the operations and the order that you do them in. So writing it in words is a useful way to kind of identify the steps that you need to use to solve the equation. Now, this course is going to identify 3 different ways that we could solve an equation. We would solve it usually one way, but it's a good idea to sometimes solve it 2 ways to make sure that you are comfortable in getting the same answer also at the same time, just to kind of get yourself used to solving it in a couple of different ways. Our options in this series are going to be a flowchart using algebra tiles, although that will be the least commonly used one, especially for the later levels, but also written work, just sort of a traditional method to solve our equation. Knowing how to do it, or having multiple means to do it, creates resourcefulness and flexibility in yourself. So being able to understand the same concept in different ways sort of increases your ability to master that task. And then the last thing that we should always do, and this is the step that a lot of my students continue to not do, and that's the checking of your answer. Take your solution and plug it into the original equation and verify that you get a true statement. Making sure that you check your answer ensures thoroughness and verifies your solution is correct, virtually eliminating the possibility of mistakes in your work. Okay, so just mastering this sort of sequence of steps is going to be the way that this course will operate. We're going to just create some examples and some levels that will be reviewing in the course to sort of increase your understanding and your flexibility, and at the same time just make you better linear equation solvers. Okay, so hope this course is helpful for you, and if it is, and if you like this series so far, then please give this video a like, and why don't you give us a subscribe as well, because we'll be putting out more content in the next few days with this course. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and don't forget to be awesome.